If you've ever hiked in winter, you know the snow tells the truth. It shows every footprint, every animal, every shift in the ground. So when you hear footsteps behind you, but turn around and see only your own tracks, you don't just feel watched, you feel hunted. This happened to me last December, and whatever followed me that day, it wasn't human. I'd been winter hiking for years, mostly in Colorado. I thought I understood the mountains, but winter brings a kind of silence that feels like another world. On that morning, the air felt wrong before I even stepped onto the trail. Too still, too empty, like the entire forest was holding its breath. The first few miles were peaceful, just white endlessness and the muted sound of my boots crushing the snow. But around mile 3, I realized I wasn't the only one making that sound. I took 5 steps. 5 crunches echoed behind me. I stopped. Silence. I started walking again. Crunch, crunch, crunch. But the echoes weren't matching my pace. They were delayed. Like someone was following me, hesitating between each step. That's when the hairs on my arms started rising. I turned around, expecting to see another hiker. But the trail behind me was perfect, untouched. Just my tracks, leading all the way back to the empty trailhead. No new prints. No disturbed snow. And yet I could have sworn someone was right behind me. I tried to shake it off. The cold can mess with your hearing. But as I entered the deeper part of the trail, the feeling got worse. The silence wasn't natural anymore. It was heavy, pressing, like the woods were listening. And then I saw them. Footprints. But not human ones. Each print was huge, nearly twice the size of my boot. And the stride length, God, whatever made them must have been taking steps 3 or 4 feet long. It was walking upright. And it was heavy. The prints crossed my trail, then disappeared into the woods. Whatever made them wasn't ahead of me. It was off the trail, watching. I paused, and that's when I heard it again. Crunch. But this time, it wasn't behind me. It came from the trees to my right. A slow, dragging step. Then another. Something was pacing me, keeping distance, keeping hidden. I felt like prey. I kept walking, trying not to look panicked. But every 30 seconds, I'd hear it again. Sometimes on my right side. Sometimes further back. Never close enough to see, but close enough to hear. Close enough that it didn't care if I heard it. That scared me more than anything. Predators stay silent. Hunters let you know they're there. By mile 6, the light was fading fast. Winters in Colorado don't give you much daylight. I should have turned back earlier. But fear does something strange to your mind. It makes you think distance equals safety. So I kept going forward. Stupid mistake. Because whatever was following me got closer once the sun began to disappear. At some point, instinct forced me to turn around. And that's when I finally saw it. Between 2 trees stood a silhouette. Tall. Too tall. Its shoulders nearly brushed a branch 7 feet up. Its body was wrong. Too narrow, too long. Like it had been stretched. And its eyes. God, those eyes. Too pale, round reflections, catching the fading light. Not blinking. Not shifting. Just staring at me. I snapped. I ran. Hard. My boots slipped in the powder. My breath tore at my lungs. But behind me, the footsteps exploded. They weren't slow or cautious anymore. They were fast. Thunderous. Coming straight for me. And whatever it was closing the distance unbelievably fast. I don't know how long I ran. 10 minutes? 20? All I know is when I finally saw the break in the trees, the trail sign near the lot, I almost cried. And right then, the footsteps stopped. Dead. Like it hit an invisible line it couldn't cross. I turned. The forest was quiet again. Empty. Like nothing had ever been there. But then I looked down, and I swear my blood turned to ice. In the snow behind me were 2 sets of tracks. Mine. And another set. Huge. Deep. Only 10 feet behind me. I never heard it get that close. I never saw it move. But it had been right there. Close enough to reach out. Close enough to pull me into the dark. I haven't hiked alone since. And if you ever hear footsteps in the snow that aren't yours, don't look back. Just run. When you hike in winter, you might see shadows in the snow, tree trunks, rocks, wind shaping the drifts. Your brain tries to turn shapes into people. But on my winter hike, the shape was a person. And the worst part? He didn't move. Not when I waved. Not when I called out. Not even when the blizzard passed and he was suddenly a lot closer than before. Last January, I went hiking in Wyoming's backcountry. I'd done the area in summer, but winter turns those mountains into a different planet, one where even sound feels frozen. The day started peaceful. Bright sun. A steady wind. Nothing unusual. But around the 2-mile mark, the temperature dropped so fast it felt unreal, almost like stepping into a freezer. That's when I saw the first sign something was wrong. A glove. Just sitting there on the side of the trail. Frozen solid, snow crusted over it. At first I thought someone dropped it. But when I picked it up, the inside was stiff, like it had been out there way too long. Longer than any hiker should have survived in that cold. I shrugged it off. Mistake number 1. Then, I kept walking. Mistake number 2. Half a mile ahead, on a ridge, I noticed something. A man. At least, the outline of one. He stood unnaturally straight. No movement. No shifting weight. Just frozen in place, staring off into the valley. I waved. No reaction. I shouted. Nothing. I didn't want to get closer, but the trail led straight toward him. As I got closer, the details seemed off. His clothes didn't move with the wind. His head was tilted forward at an angle no standing person holds naturally. And his skin, what I could see, looked pale. Not just cold pale. Like frostbite had claimed him weeks ago. Something in my gut told me this man wasn't alive. Then the wind shifted. Fast. A sudden white wall of snow washed across the ridge. A blizzard, out of nowhere. In seconds, the figure was swallowed by white. I pulled up my hood and shielded my face, trying to push through. It lasted maybe 2 minutes. But when the whiteout cleared, he wasn't on the ridge anymore. He was closer. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, he stood almost halfway down the ridge now. Same posture. Same stillness. Same unnatural tilt of the head. Just nearer. There were no footprints leading from the ridge. No sign he walked or slid or fell. He had simply changed places. I backed away. Slow at first. Then faster. But every few yards, I'd check behind me. And he'd still be there, same position. Like a statue placed in different spots each time I blinked. I wanted to believe it was fear messing with me. But fear doesn't change the world around you. Something else does. By the time I reached the lower valley, my legs were shaking, not from cold, but panic. The wind had calmed, but the air felt heavy. Charged. Like before a storm. I told myself not to look back again. I failed. And when I turned, he was standing right on the trail, maybe 50 feet behind me. Still. Unblinking. His face covered in frost. Nothing alive stands that still. Nothing alive looks that frozen. For the first time, I saw his face clearly. The eyes were iced over. Skin stretched tight, almost cracking. Lips blue, shaped around a twisted half-open mouth. This wasn't a lost hiker. This was a corpse. One that wasn't staying where it died. I bolted. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I just ran. Branches whipped past me. Snow broke under my boots. My lungs burned. But even over the wind, I could hear something behind me. Not footsteps. Something heavier. Dragging. Like a frozen body being pulled upright through the snow. That sound chased me all the way down the mountain. When I reached the trailhead lot, the sound stopped. Just ended. I forced myself to turn. I needed to know if it was still there. The trail behind me was empty. No figure. No movement. Nothing but whipping wind. But the snow told a different story. Next to my boot prints were long trenches in the snow. Not footprints. Drag marks. Like something had been pulled along, right behind me. But they stopped exactly at the tree line. Right where the mountain ended. Like whatever was following me couldn't leave the ridge. Or didn't need to anymore. As I drove away, headlights cut across the forest edge. And through the trees. I swear I saw a pale silhouette standing there. Still frozen. Still watching. Waiting for the next hiker to stray too far up the ridge. waiting for someone else who doesn't believe mountains can hold onto the dead. If you ever hike in winter, you know the trails are mapped down to the last detail. Every shelter, every campsite, every cabin. So when I found a cabin deep in the woods that didn't exist on any map, I should have turned around. But curiosity makes you stupid. Survival makes you brave. And what was inside that cabin? It made me realize some places exist only for the person who finds them. And they're not meant to let you go. This happened 2 winters ago in Montana. I was doing a solo hike along a trail I'd taken countless times in warmer seasons. But winter transforms everything. Landmarks disappear. Distances feel longer. And the forest feels like it's watching you. The first day was normal. Just quiet, cold, and endless snow. But on day 2, I wandered off the main trail. Only by a little, but in winter a little is enough to get you lost. The markers were gone. Either buried or blown off by the storm that had passed the night before. Every direction looked the same. White and dead. My GPS was glitching. No signal. My compass spun unnaturally slow, then stuck between north and nowhere. That's when panic started creeping in. And then, through a gap in the trees, a cabin appeared. Small. Weathered. Sitting alone in the clearing like it had been forgotten by time. But every map of the area, every guide I'd ever read, had the same thing in common. There were no structures anywhere near that section of the forest. Yet there it was. A dim yellow light glowed from the window, flickering like a candle. Relief punched through my panic. Light meant people. People meant warmth. Warmth meant survival. But that relief didn't last long. As I got closer, I noticed 2 things. There were no footprints around the cabin. And no smoke from the chimney. Someone was inside. But they weren't keeping warm. I knocked. Silence. I knocked again, louder. Still nothing. The cold was biting through my layers, so I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air burned my nose instantly. Inside, the cabin was warmer. But not because of a fire. It was warm like a room full of breath. Like someone had been standing there moments before I entered. But no one was inside. A single candle burned on a wooden table. Its flame didn't waver, didn't react to the open door. Like the air inside wasn't moving at all. Then I saw the photos on the wall. Dozens of them. Old, weather-faded images of hikers. Some smiling at trailheads. Some posing with backpacks. Some looking cold and miserable in the snow. I stepped closer and froze. I recognized a few of them. They were hikers who had gone missing over the years. Their faces had been on news reports, on flyers at trailheads. But these photos were older, taken before they vanished. Then I saw the last photo. The one that made my chest tighten. It was me. Standing on the trailhead. Same jacket. Same backpack. Only, the photo wasn't from years ago. It was from that morning. Someone had taken it without me ever noticing. Before I could move, the door behind me slammed shut. Hard. The candle flickered for the first time. Like someone had exhaled over it. The temperature in the cabin dropped instantly. I wasn't alone anymore. A shadow slid across the far wall. Slow. Deliberate. But there was nothing casting it. No figure. No light source moving. Just the shadow, stretching toward me. I backed against the table, eyes locked on that shifting darkness. And then, a voice whispered behind me. Another one. I spun around. Nothing. But the shadow on the wall was now right beside me. Long, thin, reaching upward like a hand about to grab my throat. That broke me. I dove for the door, yanked it open, and ran. I didn't look back. Not once. I just ran until my lungs screamed. When I finally stopped, gasping for air, I turned. The cabin was gone. Not hidden. Not distant. Gone. Just forest. Just snow. Just emptiness. No structure. No light. No footprints, mine or anyone's. Like it had never existed. After an hour of stumbling through the woods, I found the main trail again. Recognized the marker. Started crying from relief. But later, when I reported what happened, the ranger didn't look confused. He looked scared. He told me multiple hikers over the years mentioned a cabin that wasn't there later. He said rescuers searched for it dozens of times and never found anything. Just people disappearing near that area. People who never came back. Sometimes, late at night, I dream of that cabin. The candlelight. The photos. The shadow that moved like it had a mind of its own. And each time the dream ends the same way. A new photo appears on the wall. Someone standing at a trailhead. Someone smiling, unaware. Someone who doesn't know they're next. If these stories chilled you, imagine what's coming next. Hit like so the algorithm knows you want more nightmares. Subscribe before you go to sleep tonight, because the next story might be the one that keeps you awake. And drop a comment if you've ever had a creepy encounter of your own. I might feature it in the next video.